From Ticker, this is Black Belt Leader. Here's Karen Gately.
Welcome to Black Belt Leader. I'm Karen Gately, founder of Corporate Dojo. On the show today, we'll be discussing the real value of corporate health programs. We'll be looking at why it makes sense for employers to invest in the wellbeing and vitality of their people. We've invited two leading experts onto the show to share with us how we can invest wisely and leverage real benefit from these programs. Later, we'll be joined by Matt Vaughan from MV Corporate Health. Matt will be here to share his wisdom on how you can leverage these programs. But first, we'll be joined by Chris Rabba, principal and owner of Black Sparrow Group. Chris has been a successful entrepreneur, well-respected business leader in the world of workplace health, occupational health, primary care, allied health, leisure, fitness and wellness sectors for over 25 years. So clearly well-positioned to help us to understand where to start. So Chris, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. Thanks
Appreciate
for having
you
me.
being here.
Yeah, pleasure.
So as we're saying, corporate health programs is our theme. Let's start by really helping people watching to understand, what does it actually mean? What does it mean to have a healthy workplace?
Good question. So ultimately the motive or the reason will differ between organisation to organisation, but ultimately the main objective needs to be around behaviour change.
Yeah.
So it's about actually implementing positive behaviour change around health and getting people to actually make those changes and help them make healthy choices, but also providing an environment that allows them to do that.
Yeah. Why is that relevant, do you think? I mean, obviously you and I met in the olden days in the world of the martial arts, and I think, obviously growing up as athletes, we have, quite a good understanding of why our mind and our body matter at work. But help people to understand that. Why is this important?
So there's reasons why people should, or organisations should implement corporate health, and why would they implement corporate health, and I think there is a difference. So around the should, ultimately it contributes to organisational effectiveness. So ultimately productivity, organisational efficiencies, etc. So healthier people, working better, they're happier, etc. Also around embracing a culture of care, so showing that you actually care about your people. Obviously that's good for the employees. People underestimate how this is good for their customers as well. So obviously dealing with healthy, productive, happy people ultimately has an impact on your customer and your customer base.
Absolutely.
And then as a bare bones, it's the right thing to do. I think there's a corporate and social responsibility around caring for your people.
Yeah, absolutely.
So around the should, there's some of the reasons why they should. Why a lot of organisations actually implement corporate health, that will differ from organisation to organisation. So what are the drivers? So globally and around Australia, there are probably three main drivers. One is to improve staff engagement and morale. The other is to improve performance and productivity. And the last one is around talent acquisition and retention. So it's quite competitive out there, as you would know. Everyone's sort of vowing for that same pool of people. So why would a graduate pick firm A versus firm B? And I think it's gone beyond the paycheck. People are looking for a great place to work.
Absolutely agree.
We're also seeing now that organisations are moving from just those basic reasons to also seeing corporate health and wellbeing as a way to contribute to their brand. So that social responsibility, being a good employer, so their brand, their image, and also it being an EVP, part of their EVP, their employee value proposition.
Absolutely.
So the reasons are quite broad as well, but ultimately it's important to identify the why, because that will ultimately shape your strategy and your program. So a company that's looking at corporate health and wellbeing being a brand piece, it'll be a very different looking program to an organisation that's looking to reduce their risk by way of injuries or absenteeism and so forth.
Yeah, fantastic. If you reflect on the organisations that have adopted a corporate health strategy, can you think of some that have achieved substantial change as a consequence? Where is the return on that investment?
Yeah, absolutely. And return on the investment, sort of the catchphrase in the industry, but ultimately in a white collar environment, it's actually quite hard to measure. Most organisations will ask their staff, do you enjoy working at company A now that we have a wellbeing program? Yes, it's much better. Tick, yes, it's worked. But the reality is it's really hard it's not as tangible as people might think. In a blue collar environment, it's probably a little bit more tangible in that if I use the example of producing nuts and bolts, you're producing X an hour, you introduce corporate health, people are happier, healthier, not taking much time off, injury rates drop, all of a sudden you're producing more nuts and bolts for that same hour, it's tangible.
Yeah.
So it's really difficult to measure that return on investment. So again, understanding what success looks like up front is a real key part of your strategy. So is it about reducing your leave? Is it about reducing your absenteeism rates? Is it about having a happier workforce? So if you identify what they are up front, then you know what to measure before and after.
Yeah.
So I've had experience with a number of organisations having varied ideas of success, and being able to measure is really important, because ultimately at the end of the program the organisation's going to say, well, hang on, did it work? And being subjective, saying no one complained so I guess it did, isn't enough. So ultimately we said people would be happier, and as a result of this program we did a pre-survey and a post-survey, and they're telling us yes, terrific, we saw an 80% increase in the response rate, etc. Or we implemented these changes in the physicality of our workspace and we saw a 10% reduction in injury rates. So being able to measure it's really important. So there are a myriad of examples here in Australia and overseas where that's worked, but again, going back to the why. So no good designing a program that's light and fluffy when your focus is reducing injury rates. Right? Light and fluffy is great if it's around employee engagement and being a great place to work. A program that's really focusing on reducing injury rates needs to be completely different.
Absolutely. Look, I'm a passionate believer. You know, many moons ago when I was an in-house HR director, we implemented a corporate health program. And as a martial artist, what seemed logical to me was that the program was only going to add value if the team were actually using it.
Absolutely.
So, you know, we used to do things like, you know, we provide a gym membership, but then actually get attendance records from the gym. And if you didn't go to the gym in the last month, we would take it out of your pay. So that there was shared accountability for the success of it.
Absolutely. And that's a really valid point. So with a corporate health program or strategy, there's a continuum between what I refer to as parentalism and individualism. So is the organisation going to take full responsibility for the health and well-being of their people, or is it going to be a shared responsibility? So where are you on that line? Because that again will also determine what your program looks like. So for most organisations, it's no, I'm not taking responsibility for your health, but I will provide you with the tools, the time and the opportunity to invest in your health and well-being.
And that education critically as to why it matters.
Absolutely.
In your observation, you know, how many employers are focused on corporate health because they're investing in managing energy?
Absolutely. So productivity ultimately is a key driver for most organisations. Staff morale and ultimately engagement. So having positive engagement in your workplace health program generally reflects engagement in their work and with the organisation as well. And I often get asked, well, what's one of the key success factors of a corporate health program? And engagement is key. And the best way to get engagement is to have organisational support from the top. Removing barriers to participation, that's a big one. So allowing staff to engage with the program at work, outside of hours, introducing technology where they can access it from home, for instance. Effective marketing and communication is key. So I've dealt with a number of organisations where the people don't even know they have a program. So is it top of mind? Is it entrenched in the culture?
It's probably just being used in that context as a recruitment tool
Absolutely,
to say, look
possibly.
at what we've got. You know?
But no one knows about it post their induction.
It,
Absolutely. And then the last one is really creating value. So the individual ultimately is going to ask, well, what's in it for me? So the reason for it is really important. And you need to lead with an employee-centric reason as opposed to a corporate reason, because that often actually detracts people from engaging.
Absolutely agree. You know, again, in my mind, the opportunity to help people to build a stronger link between the strength of their body and their mind is unquestionably going to impact behaviour. So again, as you said right at the start, you know, a lot of corporate health programs are actually aimed around behavioural change. It's not just the behaviour of going to the gym, it's the behaviour of having resilience, having focus, having discipline. discipline.
Absolutely.
What are some of those behaviours that really stand out in your mind when you're talking to prospective clients and, you know, convincing them that this is a smart strategy? It's not just an HR puff and stuff thing that, you know, it's nice to have.
And look, that's a real good lead in around, well, what does it mean to be well?
Yes.
And ultimately, and I use this example, I picked up an old school dictionary from 20 years ago, I'm showing my age now, and I looked up being well, and the definition was absence of disease.
Excellent.
So basically, if you
not
weren't
dying.
sick, you're well.
Yeah.
So I think we all acknowledge now that the broader definition of wellness and being well, and it's not just about not being sick, it's about being physically well, fit and well, it's about sleeping well, eating well, it's about being mentally well, it's about being well at home, well at work, it's about being financially well. And actually interesting, that's probably the latest trend at the moment.
Okay.
Organisations are now touching on financial fitness and providing services in that space to assist their people with being financially healthy.
Well, my former boss at Vanguard, Jeremy Duffield, would be thrilled to hear that.
There you
know,
go.
it's something
Absolutely.
that he has been very passionate about for a long time, because absolutely, undeniably, clearly our financial security and, you know, what's going on in our bank account can have a profound impact on our mental well-being.
Absolutely, it allows you to eat healthy.
Yeah.
It allows you to have that gym membership.
Yeah.
It can either increase or decrease your stress levels at home, and can affect your relationship positively or negatively. So people underestimate the broadness of financial well-being as well.
Yeah. So what's going on in the world out there in this space? You know, where is this industry heading? What are the new things that are being
There was a
focused on?
recent survey by the Buck Group, a global survey around corporate health and well-being. And interestingly, by way of the types of activities and services, there hasn't been much of a change. Financial well-being has been highlighted as sort of the new wave. Technology has been, you know, over the last few years, been one of the new kids on the block. People using and organisations using technology as part of their programming, but you still have the likes of EAP and gym memberships or on-site gyms and health checks and flu shots still being the most popular types of activities. But that concept of, you know, putting together 12 activities in a calendar and saying, here's my wellness program, that won't cut it anymore. So that needs to be a little bit more sophisticated, and I think organisations need to start investing in the strategy up front before designing the program.
Yeah. And what about leader education in all of this? How important is it the leadership team understand the point of the corporate health program and, you know, are engaged in it themselves?
Absolutely, and as I mentioned earlier, one of the key aspects of engagement is having organisational support, and that's got to be from the top.
Yeah.
So it's always a struggle, and I've been at the receiving end of having to assist HR managers in putting a business case together to try and convince management around why they should do it. But when management are supportive and engaged and are keen on the concept, it's an easy sell.
Yeah, absolutely.
So ultimately, to even get it across the line, having senior management support, leadership support is vital.
Absolutely agree. Chris, it's been fantastic having you on the show.
Oh, my pleasure.
How can our viewers find out more about you and what you do to help organisations?
So Black Sparrow Group, so the website is blacksparrowgroup.com.au, and they can contact me through the website.
Excellent.
Thank
you again. I really appreciate it. We're going to take a short break, and when we come back, Matt Vaughan will be joining us.
Ticker.
From Ticker, this is Black Belt Leader. Here's Karen Gately.
Welcome back to Black Belt Leader. Joining us next is Matt Vaughan. Matt is the founder and CEO of MV Corporate Health. He's the corporate health coach that CEOs to turn to when they want to improve leadership, reduce stress, and create a more positive and productive work culture. Matt is on a mission, he tells us, to revolutionise the corporate health sector so that busy professionals can thrive, which, is something, a mission very close to the Corporate Dojo's heart as well. So excited to have Matt join us on the show this morning.
Thank you very much for having me.
So obviously, Matt, we've been talking to Chris about some of the big picture priorities around, what is corporate health, why is it an important strategy. Really keen to take the next level and deep dive into some of the detail as to why. Let's talk about human potential and performance and how being a fit, healthy version of ourselves makes a difference. So, if we could start, for example, around, some of the strategies for companies actually becoming healthier. What are some of the things that people should be doing to be healthier?
Yeah, well, thank you very much for having me on, first and foremost. But I honestly believe that in the world that we live in right now, there's so much fluff out there about what we should be doing. Yeah. Our expectations are somewhat too high because we've got these funny little things that you put in our hands. I think they're called mobile phones. And through social media alone, we're looking at people that are fit and healthy. And I had a word to one of my clients just yesterday, and I said, just because someone goes away on a holiday once in a year and takes 500 pictures and then puts them out online,
after filtering them.
Yeah, after filtering them, doesn't mean that they're healthy all year round.
Yeah.
It just means that they look what they call aesthetically healthy, but truly they're not really healthy.
Yeah. So what does it mean to be really healthy in your view then?
Yeah, to be healthy, it was, Chris touched on it before and I 100% agree. It's very much about how do you feel within yourselves and how do you feel within your own performance? How do you feel when you wake up? Like, are you going to bed and falling asleep quickly? Or are you struggling, tossing and turning in bed for 2 to 3 hours, worried either about what's happening tomorrow, stress, mental side of things? Are you waking up feeling extremely tired and just want to snooze that snooze button? Hit that snooze button continually, and then you're in a rush, and because you're in a rush, you haven't got your food prepared. You haven't got. It's about organisation. So to be healthy, I very much focus on performance. So performance within an organisation, which comes down to your individual performance.
That's right. It's the organisation's result as a collection of what we're all bringing. Absolutely. And as you were sharing that insight, what was going through my mind is even that decision to get out of bed. When we talk about overcoming sickies, if we talk about how we address that absenteeism issue, that choice that people make when they open their eyes, the alarm's gone off, how am I feeling today? All too often people say, not up for it. And just roll back over, go back to sleep.
Absolutely. Just to touch on that, I mean, I coach many individuals and client bases, and I talk to them about my routine, just to give them an insight about like what does someone like myself get up to. And it's not rocket science, but I've been doing this for a very long time. I actually wake up at, say, anywhere between 5:30 and 6. I'll open up my curtain, so I let natural sunlight come in. I've already woken up, but Do you
have a partner? Are they awake at this stage?
No, not at this stage. I do, but we're not quite living together. It's a whole new story. But,
Sorry, we digress. I'm just picturing my husband at 5:30 in the morning as I open the curtains.
but lucky enough, I'm with someone that's a bit in sync with that side of things as well. So, and that's the other part of the routine eventually. But even waking up, natural sunlight coming in, and then when you do get up, I make my bed. It's about creating those success pathways that make you feel like you're tick, tick, tick.
Yeah, okay.
Go downstairs. I have my water before I have my coffee. I've got a beautiful little son as well. He's my everything.
Yeah.
So, and he doesn't live with me all the time. So when I do have him, I'm getting his food ready. I'm getting my food ready.
Yeah.
I'm getting ready for school. This morning, for instance, the same thing. My routine between not having him and having him are the same. It's just that I'm preparing a bit more food for him. I'm making sure that you know, that he's okay and he's healthy and happy. The food he eats is super important to me because
as it should be.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
he sees what Daddy eats.
Yeah.
And he knows what Daddy drinks.
Yeah.
So it's water, you know, and I have a coffee.
Yeah.
You know, it's those routines, and I'm not here saying that I do amazing stuff. I do the basics, and I do the basics well, and I do the basics well and often.
How do people maintain the discipline to do that? Because I'm sure some people are listening going, yeah, I wish I could do that. You know, I really struggle. I know I should do it. I know what the theory is, but I really struggle to do it. How do you get into that rhythm? Yeah,
it's a really good question as well, because again, dealing with performance means very much behavioural patterns. So even going to bed, so those people that go to bed at 11:30, you know, quarter to 11, maybe 12, and then they're expected to get up at 6 because they need to get into the office at whatever time that might be. Just changing that behaviour, it's amazing what it does for them on a level at the end of the day. I can literally put an extra day into any one person's life by changing what time they come to bed, what time they go to bed. So you change that 11:30 into a 10:30, 9:30-ish, all of a sudden their body is waking up earlier. They've got that extra hour to do the small stuff that matters. Now that's where true performance really starts to kick in. Because once you've ticked that box, and then you move on to the next thing, you know? So wake up. It might just mean wake up, drink water, and go for a 5-minute walk outside before you get into the other routine of life. You get your partner into that as well, and when they both can join together and they start working together, you become a team. There's nothing stronger than a team.
And that reminds me of when I did grow up in the martial arts. You know, one of the things that really helped us to keep turning up and to have the discipline was almost peer pressure. It's like, you know, there is an expectation, there is a standard that we are maintaining here, and we're going to save each other from ourselves when we don't have the strength to stick to those promises to ourselves. So I agree. I think if we can get our whole family, even in an ideal world, into some level of discipline around it, we can help each other.
Absolutely, yeah. Because I do specialise with working with couples as well, not just executive CEOs and things like that there, or, you know, sales groups. I deal with couples on a level that, you know, that's one of the first questions: are you both in? And as soon as they're both in, I just got a couple from America who's just joined my, you know, part of one of my plans from America, you know. And Chris brought up earlier about technology. Well, there's no way I would be able to do this unless I didn't have the technology to be able to communicate and bring them something that's worth them creating that change.
And I'm guessing it's in the application, isn't it? Because there's lots of information available. We can all read about health and well-being and exercise and all of its benefits, but actually applying it, making it happen on a regular basis is, as you said, what changes ultimately our performance. Can we spend a moment talking about nutrition? You know, we all know, I often will ask people, okay, who's eaten breakfast this morning? Who hasn't? You know, the number of people who, as you've said, roll out of bed, got to go, don't have time. They're not actually giving their body the fuel that they need. Help us to understand some of the fundamentals around nutrition and our impact at work.
Absolutely. Can I start at hydration first and foremost? Like I believe it's probably one of the most important things. I see I'm going to call it a coffee mug here. You know, so many people just hit their coffee straight up.
It's got water in it?
Yeah, of course it's got water in it. But again, like I suggested, start drinking with a little bit of water first and foremost. Doesn't have to be like a gallon. It could be 500 mils, 200 mils, whatever. But as a little tip, you know, optimal health is the grand scheme that you want for everyone. So one little equation I always use for every one of my clients is you take your body weight. So let's say I'm 84 kgs. Times that by 0.033 will give you a literage of what would we call as an optimal sort of literage for better health and well-being.
Excellent.
So that's your water tick. Now in terms of nutrition, for me it's about very much looking at what you're currently doing. So there's one of the biggest issues is you go to a gym or you get a plan off the website, off any website, and it'll say go to 1200 calories, it'll say go to this, but there's no education behind it. And if you were on 2200 calories prior, and now you've been told to go into 1200 calories.
You're starving.
You're starving.
Yeah.
You might get a result, but
Yeah.
there's two things wrong. You got no education behind
Yep.
it. You get this amazing result. You think you can stay on those calories. I'm just talking calories because that's a common thing that people talk about. And then you get you hate life because it's restrictive.
Yep.
You don't like it. You turn off, and then all of a sudden you've bounced back to what you used to be, and now you're on that cycle of that that merry-go-round of, oh yeah, yes, I'm going to do it. Oh no, I failed. Oh no, and then it's fail, fail, fail.
Yeah.
Get over it.
Yeah, doesn't suit me.
Doesn't
don't have
suit.
what it takes.
So education
Absolutely.
is the absolute key. One of the biggest things I always say, as soon as I do this one thing with all of my clients, as soon as I put in a higher protein diet, now that can be from plants, that could be from anything. Most people start to lose weight straight away. Now it's because in this hyper palatable world that we live in, I mean, if we walked out of this place right now and we walked 2 minutes down each side of Burke Street, whatever it was, we would find snacks that were extremely tasty, carbohydrate filled, which is not a bad thing, but also quite high fats with them, with dressings and so forth. Normally minimal on protein, and because they're minimal on protein, we're not getting that satiety. So we're not getting that function that says to our brain to tell our stomach we're full. Low protein means we can pretty much eat, just continually eat and overeat and excess calories, but your brain's never getting that signal to say, I'm full, we can stop now. High carbohydrates, high fats, they don't give that signal away. So that's why I always say, as the basics, start with a higher protein diet. What you do outside of that's fine. But you'll find that you often restrict on other foods. You restrict yourself on snacking. You're not looking in the fridge and the pantries, etc. anymore.
What I really love about what you focused us there on is that at the end of the day, we've got to make this doable. We always say to people, it's not about everyone becoming an elite athlete. It's about taking those baby steps, cementing some of those disciplines, and when we realise we've fallen off the horse, that's okay. Don't beat ourselves up, just get back on it. So really appreciate, those practical break it down steps that you've given us there. So thank you so much for joining us. How can the people watching find out more about you, what you do?
Yeah, so look, I'm on the social medias as everyone is, for a more positive reason. So from Instagram, it's Matt Vaughan Fit. With my website, it's www.mvcorporatehealth.com.
Fantastic. Well, I'm very proud of both of our guests who remembered their website addresses. That hasn't happened every week, so well done. Appreciate you again, as I said, you've been here. So thank you again for watching. If there are topics you would like us to explore, please get in touch via our website, which is corporatedojo.com, or via our social media channels. Thanks for joining us, and remember, you choose. Will you be an ordinary or an awesome leader of your people?
This is Ticker, your new source for news.